Look, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's 2024 and people should be able to live their true lives. Nobody should be hiding who they are anymore. Nobody has to live behind a facade anymore. So I ask people, come out the closet right now and live your true self.
Is it?
Oh,
it's finally good to come out now. I can be myself now. That guy.
Transphobic. Yeah, okay. I didn't
Starting to hate the other people that were in there.
I didn't think that was your true self, but hey, way to expose it. So look, we got to get into the meat and potatoes of the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. And man, it's weird. The Olympics is a time for countries to put on their best physical performances by having the athletes from their country that best represent them in each individual sport come to a central location and duke it out with each other. It's probably the tamest version of a world war that we're ever going to get. Now, with this is an opportunity for people from all across the world who don't get an opportunity to travel to experience different cultures, different people's values, different people's experiences and perspectives, and learn their plight. Whether you have it better than somebody or worse than somebody, you can see what other people have. Maybe people just have different values or morals. Ultimately, you get to see that come through in the Olympic Games. Now with that, I have to introduce the two most polarizing examples of people in the Olympics right now. The two people in question are Caster Semenya and Khelif. Now again, I apologize if I butchered their name, but the reason why these two women are some of the most polarizing people in the Olympics is not because they are dominating their sport, not because they are head and shoulders above the competition, but it's because people are using this as an opportunity to get their transgender hate out there into the mainstream media. Now, Caster Semenya is a South African distance runner who already holds 2 gold medals in the Olympics and has already been subjugated to rigorous sex verification or gender identity questioning from the World Games, the Olympics, and a bunch of other things. Now, let's be clear. Both of these women in question have been born and assigned women at birth. Both of them also have varying different medical conditions that have them have different features, appearances, or maybe even down to the chromosomal level that may differ from what people in America call a traditional female. But no matter how you slice it or dice it, they are both born a woman at birth. Semenya has a condition called 5ARD. Now, you would have to Google it. It's very lengthy in detail. And trust me, I don't want to be the one to do the research for you in these medical regards. I would like people to draw their own conclusions. But after the 2009 World Games, Semenya had to go through her own rigorous sex verification test that people decided to take totally out of context and didn't even get the public information. But at the end of the day, it was decided that she was able to keep her medals that she had won and participate in games going forward.
Do you remember the first time that you realized I'm different, or you felt like someone made you feel different?
I've always felt different, I think, from young. I've always knew that I'm a different woman. It comes with knowing who you are, what you stand for. And as a young girl, you know, I played around boys. My male cousins, they've always embraced me, made me feel loved, but they celebrated me because I was good in what I did.
Now, a lot of people have decided to cast a label on Semenya, which is intersex, but again, these are people interfering in stuff that they have no clue what they're talking about, online blog, and ultimately transphobe entering the conversation. But this is a running sport. Although there is some sort of advantage that people with maybe more testosterone levels get than others, it doesn't really matter because nobody's putting hands on anybody like Imane is. This is Algerian amateur boxer Imane Khelif, and when I say that she has the world on fire right now, she has the world on fire. Now, the interesting thing about Imane's situation is not only is she a boxer, which is a more physical sport than the other sports, but the way that people are labeling is hilarious. Now, just the other day, she beat Italian boxer Angela Carini, I don't want to butcher her name either, in 45 seconds, in which Angela came out, got hit in the face by the Algerian boxer, and decided that this punch was too hard, and it was the hardest punch she had ever faced in her entire life. Now, from there, the internet went crazy by saying Imane is a trans boxer, this is a man, the Olympics must be canceled, go woke or go broke. But they were quickly proven wrong, and there was so much evidence of this that it's crazy to think about. Now, see, in 2023, Imane got eliminated from IBEA contention because she tested for higher than level testosterone in her body. Now, what that means, nobody really knows. A lot of these medical records are sealed, which shouldn't be enough for people to jump totally off the ledge without taking the whole context in consideration. But trust me, a bunch of people did. This caused people to say that she is a trans man all of a sudden in the conversation of Olympic contention. And it didn't help because Angela, the amateur boxer, went out there and decided to play the sympathy card by saying, "Oh, I tried to do this fight for my dad."
Non so se si sente, lui è mio padre. Dissi babbo, sono stanca, gli allenamenti sono intensi, però io non mollo perché volevo a tutti i costi questa vittoria, solo per mio.
But I'm here to say she is just simply a loser. A better boxer beat you that day. And what's funny in both situations is that both of these athletes have competed in other world games or Olympics before, and we did not have this much uproar about these situations. Now, maybe it's because there's more undereducation being passed around or misinformation being passed around about what's exactly going on here. People don't know what chromosomes are. People don't know what androgenism is. People don't know these things. But also in America, it's an election cycle. And so when it comes to getting polarizing takes off, being divisive and galvanizing your select group of people, yeah, naturally that's what people are getting off right now. What I find most interesting in this conversation is the goalpost move of what's going on in real time. First, these people are being casted off as men who are dressing up as women and participating in these sports illegally. Then once that gets debunked, they're going on to the trans man conversation, and they're saying that these two women are men who are transitioning into women because it's easier in these respective sports to do so. Then they're saying that they're both intersex, and they can't really explain or elaborate what intersectionality is, and not that intersectionality. And then it's about the hormone levels and the unfair advantage. And once all those things get debunked because no, they're not men, they have women assigned at birth and they have female genitalia. No, they're not trans because in these countries, trans surgery, all these things are not legal. No, they're not intersex because you can't define what it is. You don't even know anything about proper testosterone levels and don't realize those things can vary from person to person regardless of situation. Once all those things go out the window, a lot of people just bow down and say, you know what? I just don't want these transgenders in boxing. I wish that that would be an overreaction, but I've seen it time and time again on the internet with a lot of the celebrities that reacted to the Imane situation.
International Boxing Association deemed a couple of the boxers that are in the Olympics, still in the Olympics, not eligible to box in women's boxing because they had too much testosterone or they were deemed a male from the research that I've done. So now we're watching the Olympics and this Italian girl has made it. She's boxing, committed her whole life to boxing. And then all of a sudden she finds herself in the Olympics moving forward and she has to fight somebody from Algeria who has been banned from other competitions because not woman enough. I just don't understand how we got to this point. I have a daughter who's 15 months old. If she works her entire life to get to a massive platform and then all of a sudden she has to take on, that is unfair. I know that it's not every woman and every male are going to be like better, but it's like at those high level of competition, there is a clear advantage. There always has been. I assume there always will be. And I hope we get to a point where we can all agree on this, that like, hey, I think we all feel the same way about this.
I wish the ignorance would just stop. Now, mind you, Pat McAfee is supposed to be somebody who is credible in the sports media space. And he's not the only one from ESPN, Fox, or whatever Western sports media outlet that's jumped off the cliff and said something. Dan Orvalsky has said something. Logan Paul has said something. There's been plenty of people who have been speaking on this situation that just do not know what is going on. To address the whole stupid high testosterone levels point, again, high testosterone levels could vary from person to person, woman to woman, one that you know for a fact is naturally born and one that you don't. But just because this person doesn't have big breast or a big butt does not mean that this person is any less of a woman than the next person. If we were disqualifying people who had all these sorts of advantages in the conversation of athletics, then we should have these conversations worldwide and sports-wide. We're not disqualifying Wemby because he has extreme height. We didn't disqualify Michael Phelps because he had webbed toes and webbed feet and was basically a fish. Why should we discount these people right here, right now? And it's crazy how fast misinformation can spread, because even Clarissa Shields and Pierce Morgan are talking about this without being knowledgeable on the facts in the matter. And let's just say, because I do believe this is true too, you can't get all the facts. Then don't say anything. I don't understand why it's so hard for people not to introduce their ideas, thoughts, or whatever the case may be when they are just undereducated on all of it. Now, I will applaud the IOC for giving some sort of communication about this situation, although they shouldn't have to, because people should understand that there is at least some sort of due process with these things. I'm glad they came out and said this. Every person has the right to practice sport without discrimination. All athletes participating in the boxing tournament of the Olympic Games Paris 2024 comply with the competition's eligibility and entry regulations, as well as all applicable medical regulations set by Paris 2024 Boxing Unit. As with previous Olympic boxing competitions, the gender and age of the athletes are based on their passport. And I would think, coming from a country that is so anti-trans as Algeria, I don't think it would be easy for Imane or even possible for her to get a passport that has her being born as a man but classified as a woman. That's so stupid to believe. And I will say the boxer Angela came out in these conversations and issued some sort of apology. She says, "I want to apologize to her and everyone else. I was angry because my Olympics has gone up in smoke." Now, I guess we got to give a round round of applause for her apology. Sure, you owned up to it, but ultimately you don't even know that you were a pawn in the agenda of westernized culture that has people actively harming trans people on a daily basis. You and all the other pro athletes that were involved in this situation should truly be ashamed in yourselves, because you just gave everybody another news cycle that could have been easily debunked if you just lost with grace and trained better to be a better boxer. Now, it's sad to say that we've seen these situations happen before in women's athletics, which it's funny that we never see it in men's, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Literally scrolling on Facebook, you can see how people are treating Katie Ledecky, world-renowned swimmer, gold medalist, all the accolades in the world, for her just being overly dominant in her sport. They're calling her a man as well. Simone Biles, there's been massive amounts of videos, Reddit posts, tweets, etc., that have been examining her private parts in her Adam's apple to see if she's a male. Serena Williams has been the talk of the town for many a decade with saying that she has very masculine arms, she has an Adam's apple, her grunt is too loud, she's a male. And also, don't get me started on Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner drives people up the wall with the conversations about if she is a male or if she's not a male playing in these sports. At the end of the day, there's common themes in all of these situations across the board. One, these are people who are just straight transphobic and need to come out of the closet and say it. And two, the goalposts move so many different times as to what is and what isn't a woman. All these people who are very dominant in their respective sports get casted as a male because the goalpost gets moved. People need to reclassify what is or what isn't a male. And I'm here to say the only reason why they're getting casted as such is because people don't like the idea of their dominance, one, and then two, it's because you wouldn't smash, and then two, because they don't meet some sort of physical standard. But women, we know, come in all different shapes and sizes. And especially when you go to these other countries, they have different beauty standards, different values, different morals, different looks, and different aesthetics. We all don't grow the same. So you should probably back up, learn more about the country before you decide to go out there and give your claim, and then you have to give your lazy ass apology like Logan Paul did and saying, hey, I just don't believe that women should be boxing in sports. Gang, that's not why you did this. Now, if you have this stance, then have this stance. I do think it's wrong, but the fact that you're dragging in these women into these conversations who have to then go on and prove themselves through numerous sex screenings like Imane did, or like Semenya did, or like Serena Williams has had to do throughout her whole life, being subjected to over drug testing time and time again, that's just harmful to the women in the conversation. And I'm not giving you the green light to attack the trans people either, because my feelings on that are different from yours. But please square your argument so you don't have to give some lazy ass apology. But your inconsistency shows that your anger is misplaced anyway, and you don't even know how to express your thoughts and your feelings.
I wanted to talk about the boxer, the Algerian boxer that is at the moment in the Olympic Games. Imed Khelif. This girl, she has been boxing for a long time, and also she has been boxing in Singapore. And I can tell you that she's not a man. First of all, in Algeria we cannot change sex. We are not like in the Western people. We are not like white countries. So she's a woman. Perhaps she has a high level of testosterone, but she doesn't have men chromosomes. So stop tripping.
I think this foreign person put it right on the head. These people don't have the same values, ideals, daily struggles that we have in America. They don't even wrap their minds around some of these concepts because that's not their life. You using them as your political martyr in these conversations to get your transphobia off doesn't do anything for your credibility in this conversation. People were jumping the gun when they should not be jumping the gun with something that does not involve them at all. Ultimately, this also proves that you're being indoctrinated to believe that this issue is a bigger issue than what it is, especially when there's a real crisis about the water that's going on in Paris right now and how bad it is and how these athletes had to swim in it, or some of them couldn't swim in it, and the ones that did swim in it were throwing up on the sidelines because of just how unsanitary the water is. We should probably be focusing our energies and efforts there if we truly cared about these people. But y'all are so concerned about coding your hatred towards other people, you can't even be genuine in your arguments.